Well, sometime last week, our internet went down, and we live in a rural area, so we receive our internet via satellite. And because we're in a rural area, if something goes wrong, you just have to wait until there's a technician in the area. But the interesting thing was that it was something designed by God, because He told us that He wanted us in a place of no distractions. And over the last week, He's really just bombarded us with a whole pile of revelation, and we'll be unfolding that over the next period of time. And today I'll be talking about one of those that He showed us. And the other thing that He spoke to me about was me replying to comments on my YouTube channel. Now, some weeks ago, my comment notification broke, and I tried to fix it. I googled what people are saying about it, and pretty much when it's broken, it's broken. And I tried all the things they suggested and hasn't fixed it. But I've been trying to respond to everyone's comment, because I thought that was a respectful thing to do. If people bother to comment, I try and respond, even if they're saying something, contrary. But I won't be doing that now. I'll respond if I see a comment, but I won't be hunting comments down now. It's too time consuming. So on to the message. This is a pretty serious warning that God has given about deception and the 144,000. So here we go. Now, I seem to attract people that feel very comfortable to deride, criticize, bring false accusations against me, call me names, and personally attack me. Some have been very happy to let me know exactly what you think of me or what I say. And all these accusations have been public. Anyone can read them or hear them. I've had to actually remove some comments from my channel and even block people because what they were saying was so incendiary or even vile in some cases. Now, most negative comments I leave up. I figure, let's leave it there and see who's listening to God and who is listening to the voices of men, because that's a really, really good test. But here's the thing. These comments seem to be coming from people who think that they are called as the remnant. And it's very possible that they are, as I believe anyone can be called. There's nothing special about the people that are called. But for some reason, they feel very comfortable about attacking and accusing others. And it's quite rampant. And so what we have is all these people being called to the 144,000, or the end time witnesses, or the end time remnant, or the bride, or the prophets, pick a name. I don't care. But these people are attacking all these others that have also been called. Now, you need to think very carefully about accusing your fellow servants, especially when they're called to the same. Why would you even do that? What possesses you to think it's okay to make others publicly vulnerable based on your opinion? What on earth do you think will be the outcome of that? I don't care how special we think we are to God, how called we are above other people. Our position in the 144,000 is not assured. We need to know that. God taught me some time ago, don't comment negatively on other people's social media or even about other people's channels. He told me He would hold me personally responsible for the things that I say. When you accuse someone publicly, you cause people to turn away from listening to that person's message. And that's a dangerous thing to do, because it just might turn out that you're the one who's wrong. And if you turn people away from hearing the truth, and if you think that there's no consequences for that just because God is not dealing with you right at this minute, then you're in for a really big shock. Because what's happening right now, God is separating the chosen from the called based on their behavior. In my videos, I present what I believe is the truth as God has shown me. But so does everyone else. Everyone else also believes that they have honestly heard from God. But often there is a great contradiction between these things. None of us will know what is truth until these things play out. Doesn't matter how wonderfully or how powerfully supernatural it is, the way in which we receive our revelation, and God knows I have my stories on that, but whatever we receive from God comes through fallible human vessels. Our revelation is tainted by our personal foibles, and we all have them. God knows we are human. He created us human. We cannot rest in the arrogance of our perfection. Even the great theologians don't agree with one another on doctrine or on the prophetic interpretation of the scriptures. But this is the whole point. Who will be prepared to die to ego to make their message as undefiled as it possibly can? And also, history changes, and then God moves the goalposts. I'm going to talk about this in a later video. You need to know this. The things you say against me, or anyone else for that matter, does not change my position with God, but it changes your position with God. Now, I want to tell you a short story, and then I'll give you the revelation that God gave us in regards to this. So here in Australia, right at the moment, we have a situation where someone has been putting small needles into several punnets of strawberries. As a result, that has put one young man into hospital, and others have been found by small children. All strawberry punnets have had to be removed from the supermarkets, and it has brought the strawberry industry to its knees. No one is buying them, and this in turn means that the current crop is being destroyed. People who rely on this industry for income or for work have lost that source. Now, why do I share this? To show the power of one person's small action to do great evil. Revelations chapter 7. After these things I saw 4 angels standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, on the sea, or any tree. Then I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God, and he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels to whom it was granted to harm the earth and the sea, crying, "Do not harm the earth, the sea, or the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our gods on their foreheads." And I heard the number of those who were sealed. 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel were sealed. So there were 4 angels who control 4 winds. These are 4 winds of judgment, and they are holding the 4 winds back. They have been told to not release these winds on the earth until the 144,000 servants of God have been sealed. Now we go to Revelation chapter 9 and starting at verse 13. Then the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar which is before God, saying to the 6th angel who had the trumpet, "Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates." So the 4 angels who have been prepared for the hour and the day and month and year were released to kill a third of mankind. So in chapter 7, we see the angels being held back specifically because the 144,000 have not been sealed. The only reason they are held back is because the 144,000 have not been sealed. But halfway through chapter 9, we see the angels being released. So what we know irrevocably from this is that the 144,000 are now sealed. The question then has to be, what happened to the 144,000 in between? What happened that took them from not being ready to being ready? If the release of the angels rested entirely on the 144,000 being sealed, what made them ready? What sealed them? But before we look at that and what the scriptures say about that, I want to put this in historical context. Now, the 144,000 is a called group of individuals that God is going to raise up and train during the days immediately preceding the time of the tribulation. Now, what marks this time? By what signs can we know that we have entered into this time? Well, what does the Bible tell us so that we can know whether we have entered this time or not? Well, that's actually easy to know. The most repeated sign of the end times in the New Testament is deception. Everywhere we look, when we search the Bible on end times and the time preceding the tribulation, we are warned of the coming deception. The last 4 books of the New Testament alone deal entirely with the subject of deception. In second epistle of John, it tells us to beware those who are false teachers and have an antichrist spirit. In the third epistle of John, it tells us to beware false leaders. In Jude, it warns us of the apostates that are coming and beware false teachers, whose end is outer darkness. And this is what I'll be specifically speaking on in the next video. Now, the book of Revelation speaks, on deception and apostasy, and it's mentioned in there starting at chapter 2 and going right through until chapter 22, where Jesus warns quite succinctly about changing the word of God and what the fate will be of those that do. Now, all this not to mention all the times Jesus warned us of the consequences of deceptions throughout all the Gospels. So Satan is going to flood this time with deception. It's not going to be through the obvious things like sexual immorality and abortions and addictions and murder and violence, etc. They belong to a whole different category. Satan is going to turn people away from God through the cunning art of religious deception. Jesus said in Matthew 24, when he is giving his disciples the signs of the coming of the end of the age, he says this, "For false Christs and false prophets will rise and show great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect." Jesus went on to say, "See, I have told you beforehand." Now, deception will be so intense and so widely spread that truth will be hard to determine, even for God's elect. And so you have, in the midst of this time of deception saturation, God is going to be raising up a people to speak the undefiled truth of God. They will know the truth and be God's spokesmen and spokeswomen. Now, how is God going to do that if even the elect are going to find it hard to discern the truth? Well, here's the answer to what happened to the 144,000 between not being sealed and being sealed. So we read in Revelations at the beginning of chapter 9, "Then the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fallen from heaven to the earth. To him was given the key to the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and smoke arose out of the pit, like the smoke of a great furnace. So the sun and the air were darkened because of the smoke of the pit. Then out of the smoke locusts came upon the earth, and to them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. They were commanded not to harm the grass of the earth, or any green thing, or any tree, but only those men who do not have the seal of God on their foreheads. And they were not given authority to kill them, but to torment them for 5 months. Their torment was like the torment of a scorpion when it strikes a man. In those days men will seek death and will not find it. They will desire to die, and death will flee from them. The shape of the locusts was like horses prepared for battle. On their heads were crowns of something like gold, and their faces were like the faces of men. They had hair like women's hair, and their teeth were like lions' teeth. And they had breastplates like breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings was like the sound of chariots, with many horses running into battle. They had tails like scorpions, and there were stings in their tail. Their power was to hurt men 5 months. And they had as king over them the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon, but in Greek he has the name Apollyon. So a star is given the key to the abyss, and an army of demonic entities are going to be released upon the earth. We know it's nothing to do with the 4 angels, because this group is still not allowed to harm the earth. 4 times in verses 2 and 3 it speaks of smoke from the abyss. This speaks of deception, as in a smoke screen. These demons of deception are prepared for battle and have been given crowns of gold, which tells us they are authorized to conquer. Their king is known as Destruction and Destroyer. Their sole job is to destroy with deception. This chapter starts by saying the 5th angel sounded. That means that this outpouring of deception has been authorized by God. It has a purpose. Verse 4 tells us that they cannot touch the ones that have the seal of God on their foreheads. What this is telling us, remembering that this is what takes place between the 144,000 not being sealed and then being sealed, what this is telling us is that it is the deception itself that will separate those who are sealed and those who aren't. So let me explain that again. The intensive outpouring of deception at the end of the age will be our training ground. It will be the deciding factor as to whether we get sealed or not. Those that overcome the deception will get sealed because it will reveal their true heart, whether they love the truth or whether their motivation is impure, whether the need to be the one that is right, that their revelation is the pure version, or whether they are the one that is chosen to be greater above everyone else. So God is going to use the deception to find out who of those he has called is made of the right stuff and who isn't. So remember, many are called, but few are chosen. In the next video, I'm going to do a video on hell and what the message is of what the message should be of those that are called to be prophets. If you're called to speak for God, who in whatever capacity, we stand before God. That doesn't mean that God is validating us. It means that we are responsible. God is judging our words. So I'm going to be talking a lot about hell and the revelation that God gave us about that.